So basically today I would like to share with you the main results of the project. As Chiara told you, the general aim of this project is to fight against the online radicalization process, in particularly close to Rome, Nice, Strasbourg, Berlin, and Elche cities, and also the regions related to these cities. Through online communication campaign, in order to spread out the role of civil society, the role of organization, and work together with this organization. We have several objects, as Chiara well mentioned before, a better understanding on the use of social media by targets in the spread of radicalized behaviors in selected area. And this is one of the most important things today I would like to share with you, because I'm not a communication strategist, but I am a researcher. So today I would like to focus on the main results in research, also because starting from these results, we create we build our communication strategy. Then the third point, the other important object was enhancing critical thinking of Muslim youth at risk of radicalization against Islamic extremist propaganda online. And this is the core of our work. Today I will show you just some feature of that. Basically today I would like to share with you mostly the first two aspects. Then to stimulate a cognitive opening among radical Muslim youth, empower the civil society and grassroots movement related to Muslim youth, and push them to use open model as daily online activity. And finally, to raise awareness among institutional stakeholders and the other major features of young youth radicalization in reference to region and power of online activists. Today, as I told you, I would like to share with you the results of the research and some preliminary results of the communication campaign. But I would like to focus not just to the results, but to the methodology we used. As far as I think the importance is not to say what we reached, but it's important to understand how we can use the work we have done in the future. And I think the specialization of this project, the open project, it not just refer to the results we reached, but on the possibility to use again the tools we prepared and also the idea of the communication campaign. So today I would like to share with you the part of the research, but also the results of the communication, not in terms of results, but also in terms of the criticality we encounter, also in order to frame how to solve in the future, or to be care about some that can be the problems. The research was based on the idea that we have to identify the target audience, basically the people at risk of radicalization. Who are them? Who are their motivation, triggers, beliefs? How they can have access to the information, how they can be at risk. So what kind of pull and factors the groups that spread out extremist ideas use to involve these people. And this is related to the idea to find the proper levers to dissuade the target audience from being attacked from this kind of propaganda. This is the general idea. And it's very important to understand that also in the research part, we use a participatory approach. What does it mean? What does it mean that the research was not conducted by research team properly, but was conducted by the local organization that are not used to do research, but are used to do projects and activities on the social field. But for us, it was very important to give to this organization, our partner of the project, the tools in order to better understand their local context, and at the same time to have data and more clear ideas on how to develop projects, how to develop initiative, how to develop also policy in the local territory. So this participatory approach was based on a toolkit that we prepared, RS 2.0, that also is a research company, and with the support of European Muslim Union, we prepared a toolkit that allow all the organizations involved in the project to understand their, to better understand their territory. The activity about this research was for a desk analysis, of course, in which to frame how the literature frame the situation, how local, if there are some data at local and national level that can help to understand the importance of the phenomenon of radicalization. Then three elements of field analysis. The first one, the digital ethnography analysis, that I would like to show you in very detail because I think it's the very innovative part of these projects. Then focus groups related with young Muslim people, in order to understand their reality, how they think about their situation, how they believe, and how they live. And then a survey with the other social organizations present in their area. I would like to highlight this aspect because I think it's the very important one. We moved from a scientific research properly to a needs assessment perspective. Basically, the idea is not to have a scientific research, because I think also we don't need it, because if you search carefully, all the information you can collect, they're available in some forms in scientific literature. But it's very important in our case to have very action-related research made by the professional active at social level, in order to have the possibility in the future to carry out very precise strategy to fight against radicalization, to organize social activities, to also prevent radicalization also with policy or at social and political level. So we moved from a scientific perspective to one that more need assessment related and more action related. I think the very innovative aspect of our work was the digital ethnography, because was something that tried to make the organization in strict relation to the online propaganda. Basically, this activity was based on 4 pillars. The platform selection, in which we asked to all the participants to select Facebook, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. They have to decide in which online platform act this ethnography. We use mostly Facebook and in some cases also Twitter. Then they have to sample, or in other words, they have to search very carefully on the network with the sample methodology, the pages, the actors, the pages and the actors, more or less, that are used to spread out information that can be useful for our project. The sample was based also with the snowball sample. It means that we go in pages and groups, and then starting from 1 or 2 groups, we can improve our research in other groups. And then the third pillar is the data capture. The data capture, well, it means it can be done in 2 ways. Usually can be done with some technological tools that allow us to take all the posts and then to tag with the different categories. This is a very professional way to do this. But as far as I told you, the idea is to give this methodology to people that are not used to make research. We also provide information to how capture data with the concrete visualization day by day. So most of our colleagues spent a lot of hours in the social network to read posts and to catalog this post in different grids and then to analyze them. It's very time-consuming activity, but help us to understand how in social network that kind of messages was spread. It was quite interesting as activity. Then find the data. The data has to be analyzed. How to analyze this data? Basically, the table I put down is one of the table we used. Basically, we use we find the post. We decided we tag in which page we use it. We found the data, the number of likes, the number of comments, and then we try to understand the grievance beyond this post, the in-think grouping, the antagonizing, and then each researcher puts some notes. This creates a very huge database that we then analyzed. This is, I think, the most innovative part of this project, because give us this possibility to have this concrete data. Very time-consuming activity. In some cases, the results was less than we expected, but this happened because, of course, social media has changed during the time, and now has a lot of filter to avoid some kind of propaganda. So at the moment, Facebook and Twitter are more clear than what they was done than it was before. Then we also put the attention on focus group. We interview young people and we ask them what kind of Muslim organization do you belong, if they belong in some organization, if how they participate in the social activity in the community, how they got their knowledge of Islam, if they read something online, they frequent some kind of schools, if they read some books, and so on. Then we ask if they are used to belong to a mosque, and what kind of social media they use, how they use it. If they are used to stay in online discussion about Islam, in which site and social page they take information, what kind of activity they done this channel. And then I think the most important part is the feeling and the belonging of these people. If they feel to belong in a wider community, and in this specific aspect, we also ask what does they feel about the European community, and that was quite interesting. The differentiation also in the reply we get. And finally, we built a questionnaire for civil society organization based on 4 pillars, more or less. The first one, and 5 pillars, because the first one was information about the organization. The second one was general context. So we asked to the organization involved what kind of problem the young people face in their district, what they think they can, if the Muslim youth radicalization is a problem in their city or in their local area, and how it's a problem. What kind of causes they see as radicalization, if they have experience with radical people in the past, or they not. And then we ask information about the organizational level, how they organized, if they have specific section for youth, if they work with the local community, with the local municipality, what kind of relation they have with the institution, and so on. And then we develop also information about social media resources. Basically, if this organization use social media, which kind of channel they use, if they are involved in social discussion, and so on. And finally, we divided the questionnaire into areas, the one with Muslim organization and the other one specific for non-Muslim organization. For Muslim organization, we asked information related to how they organize the young people, which kind of which kind of a relationship you have with the community of Muslim and so on. And with non-Muslim organization also, we ask something related to their relationship with the Muslim community. Now, just brief results. Today, I don't want to spend too much time on the results because, as I told you, for me, the most important results was that we create something that can be used at local level. But of course, we spend a lot of time to do research, and it's something we found. We found, for instance, that we try to radicalize young people. Preface. As I told you, social network has increased their policy against radicalization and against violence. So at the moment, they can be used as first link, but they are not the main channel of radicalization, because the new policy are quite effective on that. But in some groups, there are some ideas that can be then deepen with other channels. Basically, the actor would try to radicalize young people, mostly often violence as solution of many problems, the return to a root ideology, the disqualification of other, and the us against them, to very close the aspect, because as we see later, most of the people that are involved in this kind of activity feels alone or feels quite disadvantaged, and this us against them is very effective way to catch people. Which group of Muslim is more likely to be radicalized? As I told you, the social condition is one of the most important aspects. People who live under social difficult circumstances are more likely to be radicalized than the other. Also, the connection with local Islamic community is very important. People that are lost this connection or has a knowledge about Islam created their own or only with social network, has a distorted idea, and in some cases can be likely to be radicalized than people with the strong connection with the community that know knowledge about Islam in mosque or in the community, and not alone or just in social network. Also, the dynamics of Europe is very important, because young Muslim in most of the case has a multiple discrimination. And this bring them to not feel at home in Europe, or they feel distant to Europe, because they are discriminated at Islamics. They are discriminated as far as they live in difficult circumstances. They are discriminated because they're young, because in most of the European countries, young as a for young people, the situation is not so well. So this multiple discrimination can be radicalization more likely. And also the concept of hyper-morality is one of the other important aspects. These are very, very, these are the very, very summary of our research. And this brings us to develop some guidelines for civil society organization in order to try to counter a little bit the Islamic radicalization phenomenon. We evaluated four main spheres. The first one is the inclusive policy. Policymakers should consider that radicalization of young people is often linked to discriminatory experience. So we have to fight the us against them, and the us against them ideology more often depends on the discrimination, on the fact that people feels alone. The victim of discrimination is searching for us, and the policy have to be care of this answer. home, job, social security are very fundamental tools on that, and policy and also organization have to claim to policy this kind of activity, because otherwise extremist groups can provide some solution, very simplistic solution through ideology, and they can be very effective to these young people. The sense of community is the other focal point. The sense of community against violence, and because violence is not can be considered as a tool for emancipation, but the community, yes. Better knowledge about youth daily routine are another important element, because an organization that know how the young people, how they live and where they live, it's very important in order to produce concrete answers in that case. Then also political education is another key point of that. Democracy is an important tool. In our interview, in some cases, emerged that for some young Muslim, democracy is not a fundamental element. So starting from democracy can be another important element. Also, and this is also something that the organization has to claim, the freedom of practice, religion practices. Another is an European rights. In some cases, it's very effective, but we have to claim on the possibility of freedom, of real freedom of religion. And then also the political participation. In some cases, the discrimination brings people to get out of the society. We have to involve people, in particular the people that feel more discriminated in social and political life, and that is one of the fundamental. Then we have also other two key points that are media education and religious education. Religious education, of course, is the most easy understandable, because if you consider that radicalized people are people that read their religion in not a clear way, it's important that a good Islamic education has to be promoted. Cannot be the simplistic one that we saw in the internet, but has to be developed. Is one of the major shelter against radicalization. Also because we have to improve the idea that radical behaviors are a damage for the entire community. In most of the country analyzed in the project, there are a lot of Islamophobia. And Islamophobia raised also with radical behaviors. So radical behaviors is a damage also for the community itself. And also, and this is the consequence of that, the Muslim organization, the mosque community has to become the key agency against this radicalization. So it's the community itself that has to be part of this process. And then also the media, it's another important element. As I told you, the policy of the social network at the moment are quite effective, because they try to reduce the hate speech and the radicalization online, but it's not just not enough. So media at local and social level has to create programs to disseminate a positive idea of Muslim community, and can create also, and that's why we try to develop during the project, to show concrete experience and positive approaches. That can be another important tool for civil society organization in order to fight against radicalization. Okay. And this is the main results of the communication campaign. Now I would like to give you some tips, but just a few tips about the communication campaign. All the data we collect, we used to create this kind of campaign that would like to show faces as experience of good practice in order to propose a very positive way of vision of religion, positive vision of the community, how the network, the community, the social organization can cooperate together. This is a screenshot of our website, and as you can see here, you can see these that are people that we interview during the project that give their message to the community, and that are also people that we found during the project as volunteer or as people that would like to participate in the communication. Just few data, and then I close my speech. This is the results we reached in these few months of communication campaign. As you can see, we have 1 million and 1.6 million of impressions, and 800,000 people reached during the campaign. There are quite a big results. These results was possible with the advertising, of course, because this is one of the best tools to involve people. But I would like to share with you some concern about that. When we prepared the project, we put a lot of budget for advertising, because we know that we have to over some problematics related also to Islamophobia. Also, to start with a communication campaign from zero, it's difficult. So advertising is a very important tool. But we encounter a lot of difficulty for the policy I mentioned before. To make advertising in Facebook, but more harder in Instagram and other social networks, it's become difficult over time. Most of our campaign were excluded by the social network as far as they told about social issue, and at the moment the social network are trying to avoid the social communication campaign. So we are able to spend only 1/3 of our budget at disposal to create this communication campaign. I would like to give to the floor this element, because if we consider our project as a toolkit to reuse in the future, this can be one of the most problematic aspects in the future. How to develop communication campaign with the policy that becomes more and more difficult and more severe in the future. That is more or less my introduction. I stopped to share my screen, and that's it for the moment. I would like to give the floor for the second part, to Marina Rodriguez. Now because I told a lot about the results, the methods, and some problems. I would like to give the floor to the people that concretely create the campaign, concretely work on the campaign. So the first speech is from Marina Rodriguez, that works for as a social media, with the social media for ACD La Jolla. And please, Marina, the floor is yours.